Well, good morning. If you want to see how we Resto modded this a little entry cabinet, stay tuned, because that's what we're going to do today. Good morning and welcome to another Memphis Monday 303. Kind of a funny story, I think. A friend of mine brought over a little entry, one of those little entry cabinets you put by your back door or in mudroom. It's got little shelves or drawers and with the coat rack at the bottom. Brought one over to me, and I just assumed he wanted me to restore it or refinish it or whatever. And he said, "Oh, no, I'm just going to give it to you. It's just yours." Well, I thought it was the ugliest thing I'd ever seen. I didn't tell him that, but I said, "Well, it belongs to me now, so I guess I can restore it and modify it so it's not so ugly." So that's what we're going to do today. So get excited and let's get to work. Here's a cabinet we're working on. I think I've been pondering why I don't like the looks of this thing, and I think its main sin is that, you know, if you cross this line, these knobs are centered in the cabinet door. They should be up higher. You don't put these things right in the center of a cabinet, and they're close together. They shouldn't be that close together. Matter of fact, you can't even grab one without touching the other. But anyway, so the whole focus of this thing, if you're looking at it, your eye is drawn to the center, and you see two clunky wooden knobs ill-positioned, and that is really distracting. So we're going to fix that. I made this little drawing of it as I was contemplating why I didn't like the design. And this is what I came up with. I've already talked about the center handles. Also these hinges that are on the front, these gaudy black hinges. Well, they're decorative hinges, and they should be, if they were on the side of the case, they would be all right. But on the front here, it really looks awkward. Another thing are these little wooden pegs that are sticking out all over. They're dowel coverings, I guess, but they're distracting. They're unneeded. They're just inappropriate detail. Down here at the bottom is the coat rack portion. These are little wooden pegs, and they're just too weak to hold any coats. So this is what the modifications that I think I'm going to do. I'm going to get rid of those black gaudy hinges, just put regular cabinet hinges on. Of course, I'll move the knobs up and get some brass colored ones, correctly position them. Down here at the bottom, I'm going to put regular coat hooks, and I'll take off all the knobs, all those little dowel coverings that stick out. I'm going to try to put some kind of a cloth backing in the back and cut these elliptical windows in the door. Those little wooden knobs I was talking about, they're little, I guess there's either dowels underneath it or screws or something, but they don't work in this application. The piece is too small, and they just stick out as an extra adornment that that just looks arbitrary and random. So that's the scope of our Resto mod. I don't know if I showed you the inside. I'll go ahead and begin to take it apart, and we'll see if we can make any of these changes. This is the coat rack section. I don't think you could, that would hold up a coat. Might hold up a ball cap. They're just all loose. This kind of looks like paneling, but it's not. It's actually individual boards with a, with little channel locks in them. But I don't like them. These are actually little tongue and groove boards. There's a little tongue right there, and there's a groove on that side. This is stuff they used to use for paneling. I think you can still get it, but I think mostly it's gone to sheets now. That's kind of interesting. Those boards were held in place by these neatly applied hand-driven nails. Look like they're about 1-inch nails. What I'm trying to do is sand off these little nubs. So I don't plan on taking this face frame off. Well, it's already looking better in my opinion. I sanded those knobs off there. See, it makes those sides. The whole thing looks lighter and more airy now. That dark stain didn't do it justice. Okay, let's see if we can work on that door treatment. Through trial and error, I got the ellipse I want, I think. What I did is I laid my board down on there and traced it out. And now I'm trying to figure out what size ellipse I want. And then I'll cut the template for the ellipse out of this piece of plywood. Yep, I think this is going to be fine. Set this thing off with some new handles and a nice back here. I think it's going to work. And we'll stain it with pine stain. We're not going to use, it was stained with red oak or something. So what we got going here is we need to make us a fake rabbit so that I can have a bed to put the bottom or this back in. So I don't want the back to be exposed on the edge or anything like that. So I cut these little strips, and now this is all recessed about 1/4 inch. I'm putting these little strips in with a pin nailer. You about got to have a pin nailer when you're nailing stock this small. And then when we're ready, our back will fit in here just like this. It's a little loose right now. I cut it about 1/8 of an inch smaller because we're going to wrap this in fabric, and I want to have plenty of room for the ends to fit in the corners here. We're not going to put the back on now. We're not going to put the back on until we have the doors done and we have staining done and all that. But I thought I'd go ahead and get this back ready. Okay, here we go. This is a square board, by the way. It's 20 3/4 inches square. Now my theory is, I'll flip this over and smooth the wrinkles out. I'm trying to cut this with a razor blade. So now this will be our back. We got this big paisley right here in the front. Put it in there and see what it's going to look like. So our back goes in there like that. And then it'll look like that. Okay, let's work on the doors. I got the doors put on there. What I'm doing now is putting some stain on it. This stain is called Puritan Pine. It's a real runny, kind of a penetrating stain. I'm just putting it on and then wiping it off real quick. This pine is already plenty dark. Okay, our next job, we got really two main things to do. We got to do the treatments for the doors. I'm thinking about putting a screen in instead of the glass. Kind of, and then we have to put the back on, and then we have to put the coat rack on. So we get this staining done and we'll do all that. I don't want to brush this on because I don't want it to run down. This is probably capricious, but I went to Lowe's to get some plexiglass to put our little windows in. But I found this metal grating that you put in pie safes and stuff, and I thought that would look pretty cool. So I'm sticking it in with these tiny little staples. What I'm doing now is installing these real nice hooks. I'm putting them right over the old holes, so it'll hide the old holes there. These are heavy-duty hooks. Should be able to hang anything I want on them. Well, there's our project for Memphis Monday 303, a Resto mod, restoration, some modification to this entry cabinet. Put little doors on here. Put the pie safe deal in there. The handles are funny. So you should never bad-mouth somebody else's work. I was bad-mouthing whoever built this for putting those handles too low, and I put them too high. So, see, that's what you get. But we put these elliptical windows. We changed the coat racks, or the coat hooks. We installed a new back here. Make it look a little prettier. So overall, I'm pretty satisfied. Well, that does it for Memphis Monday 303. Today we did a Resto mod on that entry table, pine entry table. I think the takeaway perhaps was the fact that I didn't like the looks of it. It didn't look right to me. Well, as Spock would say on Star Trek, it's impossible to answer the question. It's impossible to provide an answer unless you know the question. So I spent a good deal of time, and we went over that. Actually trying to figure out what it was that was making me uneasy about the looks of this thing. And we identified those things, the coat hooks, the little knobs on the side, the big gaudy black hinges, misplacement of the knobs, and so forth and so on. Made a list of those things and made all those changes in the modifications. So if there's any part of the project we left out that you'd like to see, just put it in the comments and maybe we'll do a Memphis Answers on it. Okay, make sure you comment, like, and subscribe and all the stuff you do on the internet. But most important, make sure you're back here next week for another exciting Memphis Monday. Thanks for playing along.